Well, I was hoping to get this whole build into 2 videos, but it looks like we're going to have a part 3 after I build a casing, do the wiring. We'll wash a batch of clothes. And I'm thinking this is going to be part of my washing machine. So today we're going to be stripping it down to see, because we already have a mechanism that I need to see if I can get working. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So this is what I was after. But I think I'm also going to steal the pedestal off this stool. Cut the legs off. I don't need that. But that's a good base for it to sit on, and it leaves me some room to put some little grippies to hold the bucket in place. So yeah, that's where we're at. I got the legs cut off. Just hacked them off with the Sawzall. And I put this back on. And it's still stiff. But it moves. But really at this point, if I wanted, I could wash clothes. I've noticed as I was cleaning up my bearing that it was sloped. So I had to add a spacer to one side so that this will now sit flat. I have glued the holes in, or the bolts, filled the holes with glue, packed them with sawdust, and sanded it somewhat smooth. It don't need to be perfect. But now I want to lay out some feet. That way, when I set my bucket on here, it will stay centered. So we'll lay that out and see what we get. On here. And what these are going to do is, so when I drop the bucket on, it will just easily go to center. No matter where I'm at, boom, drop down in, and that way, yeah, I've still got to get this loose. But that way, as this rocks back and forth, I want to do a pad on the bottom on there, so it will help grip better on the bucket. But I don't have that yet, and I think I'm about as far as I can go today, other than keep working that bearing. Built this temporarily to hold my bearing and my rotating assembly in place. But I will probably end up still using it, just modifying it once we get the rest of the parts. But because of the bolts, I had to add a spacer. But I happened to find some of this Harbor Freight work floor flooring I had for another project. I had to piece a piece together to make it work. I've got it cut out. What I'm going to do is just take some wood glue. And of course, it never just wants to pour out, you know. Alright. And then I'm just going to take a little scrap piece that I cut off. Just kind of smear it around fairly well. Kind of bring most of your excess towards the middle. We'll throw that away. And then it's finding the one it goes to. There we go. And now we got a grippy base, so bucket won't go sliding around. Okay, so I was not able to get this to actually move nice, but it does move nice with the weight on it. But I remembered that some bar stools had a clutch that unless you sat on them, they wouldn't swivel. So I'm going to open this up by grinding this off and see if I can figure out this clutch so it doesn't work. Alright, so I cut the nipple off. I just got to pop this pin through now and we'll be able to open it up. Okay, so we've got it apart. We got this little ring that holds the ball bearings in place. What I'm going to do is I've already put it back together once just by taking out this little Teflon piece, plastic piece, and putting it back together. It spins freely, but I'm going to clean this up and put some new lube in everything, and we'll get it back together. Alright, so I just took some good old Vaseline, put it right around there, got all my bearings back into the little tray. I'm going to put that back on, and we're going to beat that back down in place, and then I'm going to throw a couple little tacks on there to keep it from coming loose. Alright, we got our tack on there, and she spins freely again. Alright, now we just got to bolt this back onto here and back onto there, but yeah, if it wasn't rolling all over my bed, it spins nicely and should work great. Alright, we got it all back together, and yes, it spins so much nicer now. And some more PVC, and I've flattened it out. What I got to do is make some 3-inch holes with a hole saw to make a cam with. So now we got those done. Boom. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to glue all of these together, and that way I can make a cam to do the drive for the washing machine. Things will start to make sense, I promise. We got her clamped and gluing. Got a bolt through it to hold everything centered, and a few clamps on the outside. I've gotten a little ahead of myself on this, so here's my 3-inch piece that I've made for my cam. As you can see, I've recessed a 3/4 inch hole here with a paddle bit. I've raised this one layer, drilled and tapped to put this bearing on here. And yeah, I can't go any farther with it until I get the parts, but yep, there it is. Oh, I also added one more layer here to give me the room to recess this nut to get under the connecting rod. Now I've added the bearing to the back of my rotating assembly. What I did was I got my bolt, put my bearing, a washer, and then I had these cutouts of piece of plexiglass, which I figure would give nice anti-friction plate. On this side, I drilled my hole to 5/8, about halfway through, and then I glued and sucked the nuts down into the board to hold it in place. But once I can get the motor mounted, and then I can build a connecting rod. Okay, we finally got our missing piece. What I did is I just went on eBay and found the cheapest $25 windshield wiper motor I could find. So now I've got to figure out how to mount it, and then I can get my cam put on here. So, but I went through and I found bolts that fit, found a nut. Yeah, so let me figure this out and we'll show you what I did. Alright, so I've had to remount the motor a few times, and this is what I've got to so far. I had to build a block to bring this down to straighten that out, because I did try and make an angled one and it just wouldn't hold up. So I had to keep it more of a straight shot. Right now I'm just letting everything dry up so it'll be solid, and then I can figure this out. Okay, so my cam failed to lock onto the shaft. So right now I have some epoxy drying. It's going a little faster than it will because I'm running it at 20 volts right now, just to keep it from sticking in place while the glue sets, or the epoxy sets. All right, and there we got our mechanical part.